Good day, everybody. Oh, hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Come on in. I don't know about you, but maybe it's because my life, I have been very lightheaded lately, and I've been really watching. I'm not hungry or anything, but I've been feeling extremely lightheaded. And I think with everything with everything, just the pressure. The moon hasn't helped. The energies that are happening are not helping, but just having to keep myself focused and grounded has been tremendous, has been a really big thing. So but I'm getting up, I'm getting up, and I'm here. I'm here. And of course, what I what doesn't help. It doesn't help when I go down freaking rabbit holes, man. The word surf has come up. SERF has come up in a few videos that I've been watching in YouTube's and I wanted to know, okay, surfs, and they've been talking about this a lot. And it isn't the only place I've heard it before. Surf is what we would call peasants. In 1381, there were serfs, and we've had serfs throughout, where these are people who work for a lord and a lady. The lord and the lady of the land basically owns them. Kind of like slaves, but not. But serfs get paid. They get paid an income for what they are doing. But they need, in order for them to do anything, they have to get permission from the lord and the lady. That included getting married. They weren't allowed to really do anything without permission. And so they needed permission to do whatever they wanted to do. Now, after the Black Plague in just before 1381, I don't know the exact date. I think 1348. No, anyways, the Black Plague, and this was called the Dark Ages. Now, the reason why they call it the Dark Ages is because there's not a lot written about it. A lot of the written word or the history about that time was destroyed. They destroyed a lot of it. So only bits and pieces come out about it. And when the Black Plague, a lot, of course, over 50% of the population died. Because if you got it, chances are you would not survive. Those that survived after this plague, um, found that there was a shortage of work, and in that shortage of work, they were demanding higher wages. People were traveling around, things still needed to be built, things needed to be made, etc. And the lords and the ladies didn't like that too much, so they ended up putting a cut on employment, on how much you could pay somebody. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? You're not able, because it would cost them too much if these people were becoming too prosperous in what they were doing. And anyways, so they the next thing is that England was in a 100-year war, and the 100-year war was costing money. Now, they didn't have computers and stuff back then that they could just print money off. But what they did is that they ended up taxing the serfs, and taxing them more and taxing them more. And they would have tax collectors that went around from town to town with their little army to get money. Now, these before the revolt happened and before the people really got together, it took them it's not just the tax collectors was that, but the abuse from the tax collectors, and the abuse that the tax collectors did upon women, and what they were doing, that angered them. And the other thing is that they started to go around and just randomly arrest people and then throw them in the tower. And it didn't, you could be good, bad, or what, they didn't care. They just went around. So this caused a revolt. Now, this was in 1381. People revolted. People got tired of this. We've seen it throughout history. We've seen it in 1776. People got tired of the taxes, got tired of being told by a government which isn't even part of their land, telling them how to live a life, and they aren't even there, and they never were able to say anything. They didn't have a word in parliament. So, of course, that brought a revolution. That brought where people were saying, no, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to do this. And then we also have in 1858, the Civil War. And people were getting to a point where they weren't taking. Now, each time before any of this, there's a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of arguing, a lot of things going on. We're in very similar times right now where people are very frustrated, they're overwhelmed, they're trying to get their voice heard. People, the powers that be, also the ones that are close to the leaders, were the ones getting richer. Nancy Pelosi, we see, well, anybody who's close to the money is getting rich and getting richer by the minute. And those who aren't close to the money or the knowing the ins and outs are not, and they're getting poorer. And we're starting to see that in the world around us. We're starting to see that people are starting to say, hey, this isn't, we're not going to take it anymore. And revolts are happening. When I look at the energy, this is where it is where I feel like it's we're hitting an oil skid, and we're spinning out of control. This is where excuse me, where we're having to keep our eye on our target, keep our eye on what is coffee sent, my friend. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. Melanie, you don't know how much that means to me today because okay, I won't cry. But thank you. Thank you. I'm not going to cry about it, but it's something. Thank you. um so this energy that's coming in is getting us to getting us on this slippery road. And it is a slippery road, and it can go in many different directions, many different directions. And we are coming to a point, it's like, how much is it going to take before people actually really revolt? And I feel that's coming. And I know July and August, and as we get into the heat of summer, this is going to really accumulate to um to put pressure, like a pressure cooker is coming. Now, the reason I brought up the word surf, we're going to put the pressure cooker on the side. It's doing fine. It's just pressure cooking. We'll put it underwater in just a moment. Um, the surf is because they want to implement a universal pay for everybody. Everybody gets a universal pay. Now, in order to get this universal pay, you have to qualify in certain ways. That means you have to behave yourself. You can't step out of line. You have to do what they say. You have to cross your T's, dot your I's, blah, 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 blah. And also with this surf is that you also have to look at it's like, if you earn anything above that, you're going to be extremely taxed on it because they want to make back their money, right? So that's the part. And right now, because of what are the elected officials have done is, and because of the so-called pandemic that happened, or pandemic, however you want to say it, happened, has caused a lot of change shortages, caused a lot of people being jobs eliminated, has had many people just feeling displaced, and that displacement. And the energies, what I feel is with all of that, that's within this world, we're having all of this craziness and pressure cooking of things that are going on, that an energy that's wanting us to awaken, to look at the things that we really need to be doing in our life and along our spiritual life. And even though it is crazy and frustrating, I feel there is a lot that there's a lot of hopelessness and depression. It has to do with this, with the energy as well. It's bringing in. It's where we are feeling very overwhelmed and very we're fed up. We're not going to take it anymore, kind of thing. That type of energy. And this is where with that sun and moon, that square, Saturn squared the sun and the moon, which isn't an easy aspect. It's getting us to really look at how can we connect and come together. That slippery oiled slick is really giving us a little bit of fogginess. It is getting us to feel very out of sorts in many areas of our life. And the more I look at a lot of, the people I trust that I follow, and their predictions and my predictions have been pretty bang on. And I know my son has been telling me, "Mom, stop, don't be doing your predictions anymore." And I'm like, I can't. I said, people have to know. People have to, in understanding trends and understanding, and that's, what astrology does too. It shows you the trends, it shows you the different timelines that are coming in, and the things that have happened before, when when these aspects have happened. And when you start to recognize these aspects, you can start to prepare. You can start to prepare and start to get yourself to a place where you are feeling confident, when you are feeling more secure. Now, I get that many are going through financial issues. They're going through so many health issues. That's the other part too, is because there's a lot of health issues that are coming in with people. I've noticed more women, unfortunately, popping up on my Facebook feed, being diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm just like, God bless them, sending them out so much love. Those who are recovering from breast cancer and going through horrendous difficulties through the recovery part, and having to work their way through that recovery. The other part too is that, because I'm in the hospital every day right now, I am seeing, or hearing, like, from the nurses, that there's more heart issues than they've been more inundated with people with heart issues. And it's not older people, it's young, young. There were two beautiful young women, and they're both under the age of 40, who had heart issues. And I'm just like, and that was just in my husband's room. And the one nurse says, "Well, no, this is quite common. We're seeing this more and more." And I'm like, interesting. I said, interesting. I said, is there a correlation that you've noticed? And she goes, and of course, she doesn't want to say anything to me, but I know there's a correlation with why more and more people are coming in with issues. For my husband, he's African American descent. He has a history in his family of type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. That is historic within his family, going back. His grandmother, his great grandmother, many of them had it, except on the English side in his family. They didn't have it. They probably had other issues, because his grandfather was white, and he was descendant from England. So that part, but on his grandmother's side, there was a type 2 diabetes and stuff like that was going on. So for him, it's like, okay, this is something that you have to be aware of, and we have to work with. And um the thing is that I'm seeing more and more of that, and I'm seeing that in this world, that it feels like it's just spinning out of control. Like, we hit this oil slick and we are just spinning out of control, and we're trying to get control of the wheel. We're trying to get control so that we can get back on track, so we can start feeling more grounded and more progressive and more in alignment in doing what we're going to do. But it's a day by day right now. This is where we have to understand that we have to take each day as it comes. We need to take and be grateful for each day as it unfolds, the good and the bad and whatever else is appearing. And I feel like that's what we're entering into. It is a time of looking into, okay, today this is my agenda. This is what I can do. And one of the things I learned from Leonie Dawson, was that you do your list, but you only do the top 3 things. What are the top 3 things that need to be done today? And do those top 3 things. If number 4 keeps popping up in your head, I have to return a library book. No, keep that and put that as, what you have to do tomorrow. So this is where we have to look at, what are the top 3 things that you need to do in your life today? And that's it. If you get through them, awesome. If you don't, okay. Sometimes we're not going to get through all those 3 things, but we're going to put an effort into it and start with number 1. What is the number 1 thing that you need to do for yourself today? Is it to take a walk? Is it to go outside and sit in the sunshine? What is the number 1 thing that you need to do for you today? and do it. That's going to be so important because we are going to be going into more crazy as this month goes on and as we get into June and especially July. This is where we are going to be setting into seeing, hearing, and we got to say that we are blessed being living in a Western society is that it's not so much that we are going to be in a food shortage, but what we are going to be, well, there is going to be a food shortage, but we're going to be in a place where there's going to be a lot of, you're opening your scary mail. Okay. Open it one letter at a time. And do it one day, just one step at a time. That's all you can do. And it's taking those steps that we need to do. Taking those steps that we need to do each day. And sometimes opening the scary mail, you open it up, but it's like, okay, I can't do anything about that right now. So I know there's something that I need to be done. I know there's something, but right now I may not be able to pay that bill. I may not be able to, and that has to do with the prices that are going to be going up too. Wheat price has gone up again. Um, India has just closed its borders on exports, and Sri Lanka was one of the biggest. Were one of the countries that were getting imports. Now, when we look at things that are going on in the world, is what I found is that to listen to the real experts of things is what's been missing. If you're wanting to know about farming, I'm not going to go to some guy sitting in the back of a library who maybe doesn't really know anything about farming, has never set his foot in dirt before. I want to go out to the farmer and find out what do we need our supply. But they didn't do that. They didn't talk to the farmers. They didn't talk to the dairy guys. They didn't talk to the ranchers and said, okay, this is what we need to do in order to make sure there isn't a shortage in the world, that there isn't a shortage for our own people. The other part too is looking at the countries that had really hoarded a lot, hoarded way too much. And and one of them is China, and the hoarding of what they, the amount of food that they had on stockpiles, and now they're finding a lot of it's rotting, and that their food supplies are dwindling. But that's also part of greed. Now, stocking up and preparing is different. The history has shown you that we've done this throughout, to making sure you have enough through the winter, that you make sure that you have enough, supplies, and that you're going to be able to make it through winter. We're entering into a time that people don't know how to do that. Now, that let me bring it back to the serfs. That's where the government can get used because you won't have the money. Hey, I'm talking right now. You have to wait. That's my cat. You have to you have to look at what people are going to be struggling with, and that's going to be a big one. And I mean people actually struggling, and because the food supply was already down from last year, and that's what they base it on. So this year, they're already looking at where many of the prairie provinces and states are going to be going through a huge drought because of the weather. And so all of this, it's like, okay, if you're going to talk to a farmer's going to know things and understand things. What do we need to do to get through this drought? What do we need to do for our reserves? And I feel like a lot of that has been missing, where we have not connected with those that at the end of the day that we need to connect with. And even with, if you're looking for oil and you're looking, for energy sources, aren't you going to talk to an engineer or somebody who knows about it, then talk to somebody who doesn't know anything about it? And that's the thing, is like there's been so many people that are wanting to go on a bandwagon where they can just create and have money, but at the end of the day, I feel it's going to just cause more issues and more of a revolt than anything. My nose is so itchy. Sorry. So I feel right now with the energies, and I know there's a lot of harshness that's coming in and feeling very harsh, but it is where we are coming into a lot of re-identification, and we are coming into a a cycle that's coming in for us to re-identificate who we are and how we are going to go forward. And it's going to take us some time in doing all of this. This is where we're going to take the aspects and the visions and changing and um and get ourselves back into gear. And I feel that with everything that is going to be going nutty, and I'm just prepare I really want to prepare you all. I'm a lot of this I don't want to scare you, but Saint Augustine of Hippo, and he's this is one of his quotes: charity is no substitute for justice withheld. And that is a huge one, I think, for today. I know it seems like I'm jumping all over the place. That's what my guides just said. You're jumping all over the place, you know. But anyways, I get it. But in him stating that charity is no substitute for justice withheld, we are seeing also where philanthropists and billionaires, soon to be trillionaires, are thinking that, oh, let me just help you, let me just give you, is it isn't giving you the truth of what needs to happen. It's giving you that where they're wanting to just be that philanthropist. We're just going to go out there and build the houses, do all of this. But where's the justice? Like what is the reasoning for a lot of these guys doing what they're doing too? I talked a little bit about that this morning on uh our meditation group, and I think I got cat hair on my nose. That's what it is. Bill Gates is maneuvering to being controlled with the WHO, and the WHO, there's a vote that's coming up that if it goes through, they want to vote that the WHO has power to be able to go over 194 sovereign countries and lock them down and take away their rights. And Bill Gates wants to be in charge of this. Bill Gates has also said that his best return has been the vaccinations and making money. He's made more money off of the vaccinations. And this is a guy he's a computer geek. He is not an expert. He is not a doctor. So why are we going with somebody who is not an expert or a doctor? Because he has money? Remember, charity is no substitute for justice withheld, because they're going to withhold the justice. They're going to withhold things from you. And that's the other part that's coming through. So we're going through all of these changes within the world, all of these transformations within the world that are causing us to feel depressed and hopeless and feeling that lack. But that's the darkness. That is the darkness. This is where we have to come in and say, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling pretty low right now. And I get it, because I am too. I'm feeling pretty low right now. There's a lot on our plate. And it's not that I'm complaining. It's not that I'm trying to victimize myself, but it's just to be upfront and say, you know what? Yeah, I had to take a part-time job because I have to pay my bills, and right now I'm getting 9 hours a week. It's a drop in the bucket. And so this is where these changes that have to be made at this time are not always the ones that people want to hear or people want to see. But in understanding it, it's letting people know, oh, okay, mama's going through some crazy shit. All right. Okay, I get it. I can, maybe that gives somebody else a little bit of you know, strength. And I know yesterday, I know a lot of people look and like, how can this always happens? One of the top 3, I hate to use the word bad aspects to have in your chart, is a Saturn square your sun and moon. Saturn is squaring my my sun. Saturn squares my sun. I was born with a Saturn square my sun. That means I want to shine my light, and my sun is in the fifth house, which is Leo. Leo rules Leo's rulership. The sun rules that, and I have to continue to fight for my light, to fight for my strength. That's part of my journey, right? And my moon is in Cancer, so it's feeling everything, and it's feeling those things in your life, and having to, be that person. And the same with my rising sign is in Cancer as well. So it's allowing myself to step into those feelings, and sometimes you feel them a lot more than other people, and it can be very overwhelming for others. And for me, these transformation and changes are never easy ones. They're not ones that, that I can just sort of slip in and things go well. There's always some kind of challenge that comes forth with them. And a lot of the challenges for me have come forth, have been financial is one. So making, the money, the money issue. And the other is, this time it's health, and um, having to make sure that we have good health to do what we need to do. And and moving. It's funny. It's like I am in a constant state of motion where I don't stay in one space for very long. I think the longest I've stayed in a place was 9 years in, Steve and I. And even when I was little, we moved around an awful lot. When I was younger, and we moved around a lot. But there's always a state of motion, always a state of change, of transformation. And some feel it more than others. Some are just, they glide right through, and everything, they might go through a little chaos, and then it turns out to be, great. Others take longer to glide through things. And I think this is where the world right now, the world, not me, the world is going through one of the largest transformations it's ever gone through. And it is in a great deal of influx, and it's in a great deal of transformation, because it wants to radicalize and change us so that we can live a better life, and live a life of more love and light, and bring that to it. But in order to do it, it's got to shake us all up. It's got to get us to a point where in our world we're going to be seeing, prices skyrocket. We're going to be seeing where a new dominance is going to be rising. And um this is where we're going to be having to be aware of these wealthy people. And just like the kings and queens of old, where they had to write the Matacardan, I think I said that wrong, but they had to write that to say that the kings aren't the divine or the divinity of God, right? And but some of these billionaires and trillionaires think they are, because they have money, they can buy, they can do this, and they can do that. But they actually don't. At the end of the day, when you die, you know? And that's where, as people, we're going to find how far we can be pushed. How far we can be pushed as a nation. Sri Lanka is only the tipping board of what is going to be happening. We're going to be seeing it in Chile, El Salvador. Argentina is going to be on the fall. We're going to be seeing craziness happening in Mexico, and not only there, we're going to be seeing it in places like Kenya, South Africa, and different African states, all the way up into Europe, and even here in North America, where we're going to be seeing. If you don't think that the baby formula is the tipping of an iceberg, when people are finding that they cannot feed their children, that's when people start to really revolt. That's when people start to stand up and say, what the fuck? And it's going to start, you're going to see people like freaking out. You're going to see people doing a lot more craziness than they've done before. And that is because of their own fear. And when it comes to food, food is one of the biggest triggers. Food is one of the biggest triggers. And then you put a financial strife onto people, they're going to explode. They're going to explode. I said at the beginning of the year that this is going to be a year of global revolutions. And those global revolutions, may not mean boots on the ground, but they're going to be where people are really going to be like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And when the world starts heating up, physically heating up, people start heating up as well, because you're going to start seeing air conditioning's going on. That's going to drain on the energy system. The energies are going up, prices are going up. Diesel, why is diesel a diesel shortage? That doesn't make any sense. Diesel's one of the cheaper ones to come in before unleaded gasoline. So these things that are coming in that are putting such strife and economic turmoil upon us is really causing hardship. We're seeing Iran going into turmoil. Iran is a rich country. It's not a poor country. It's not a third world country. It is a rich country. But when we start seeing countries like Iran and other ones who are well off going through this, England is going to be another one. When we have right now over 2 million people plus in poverty in England, that's wrong. And people are going to be fighting on how to heat their homes and what to do with their homes. So this is a time where, as it gets hotter and the energy is going to keep going up, people are going to have to be making choices and decisions on, are you going to turn the furnace on? Are you going to turn your stove on? Or are you going to buy food? Because each time you have a light on, each time you have something, it's pulling off energy. And how is that energy coming forth? And this is where an awakening is coming. Awakening is coming for us to start to look at things in new ways, new innovative ways, and coming together and saying, okay, we have to make a change. This year is that twisting. It is that pivot to get us around that corner in order for it to happen. How is it going to happen? I hope to God it doesn't happen by nuclear war, since Russia right now is putting all nuclear weapons, not all, but nuclear weapons on the border of Finland and Sweden. Why? We know why. They're on the border of Russia. Russia's not going to pull out their men right now. They're going to probably do inscription, but it's going to take time to train all of those men in order to do a fight. They have the people to fight. They just have to train more people, but they're not going to pull the people out of Ukraine at this time. They're not going to give up Ukraine. I could tell you that right now. They're not going to give up Ukraine. They're not going to give up any of those countries right now. He is fighting, but he's not going to let anybody come in. And you know what's going to switch it around? China's going to attack Taiwan. And that's where Russia and the United States join back together. Crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. Because China is their frenemy right now. But when it comes to certain things, Russia will flip. Because Ukraine, what will happen is that they're going to make a deal and they're probably going to give Ukraine to Russia. And if they give Ukraine to Russia, Russia will say, fine, we will help you and we will fight China. Crazy shit. Crazy shit. Because the United States know they're going into a civil war and they don't want a civil war. Maybe they do. Maybe some of them do, because it's going to put a great division in the United States. But we'll see how it unfolds. And this time, here we are. We're in this crazy, slippery, sleek nuttiness that is getting us to awaken and saying, what the hell? Because you don't want to wake up and say, how did we get here? We got here because we weren't awake. We got here because many people decided, oh, well, who cares? No, you can't. We're not in a state anymore in this world to say who cares. We're in a state where we have to wake up. And especially the younger generation, they might sit around and these Gen Zs say, oh, I don't care. You know what? You will care when you can't buy your new Adidas or your new Nikes. You will care when you can't get what you want to get, as it just won't be there. It'll be there, but you have to be a billionaire to get it. And that's when people start to freak out. And that's what we're heading into. and the light is there, and the light is shining. God is ready. The angels are ready. Angels aren't always fluffy. Archangel Michael has a sword. He wants to fight against the evil in this world in order to create a better world. That's what he's there to do. And that's what we have to start doing. We have to start looking at ways of getting ourselves prepared. And if the shizzy doesn't hit the fan and I'm full of bullshit and I'm wrong, thank God. Thank God I am. Thank God I am wrong. And I hope to God I am wrong. But in my gut and in what I have seen and in the visions that have come forth to me in watching the astrology, the only way we can get out of this is that everybody comes and turns to the light and awakens and really works with one another without judgment. And I can't see that happening. My cat is having a tizzy fit. I'm wanting me to let her out. So I'm going to leave you guys all with love and light. I have to get up to the hospital to see how Steve is doing. If you are wanting to donate to my coffee fund, please do. You could do it by PayPal or e-transfer. And I put it in the description below this video. If you are wanting to join the shamanic astrology to understand the planets a little bit more and the shenanigans, join me. And it starts this Thursday and it's $200. So onwards and upwards for all of you. I love you all. Thank you for following me. Thank you for listening. And pray to God that I'm wrong. God bless.